On July 20th, 1969, the world held its breath. The grainy image of a man stepping onto the moon flickered across millions of television screens. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But what if? It was never supposed to happen. What if there was a man, unknown, unseen, unheard, who held a secret powerful enough to stop the mission, yet chose to stay silent? Suspense. Who was he? He wasn't an astronaut. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't even American. He was nobody, or so the world believed. A reclusive figure known only in fragments, whispers in intelligence files, a ghost in declassified documents, a brilliant mind, exiled from his homeland for ideas too dangerous, too advanced, too true. He had uncovered a flaw, a single error in the Apollo 11 systems code. One line miscalculated. If left unchecked, it would have meant catastrophe, not glory, but a grave in the stars. And yet, he said nothing. The key moment, why the silence? He had the clearance, he had the connection, he even had the chance, a private meeting request from NASA's lead engineer, never attended. The night before the launch, he stood on a rooftop in Zurich, eyes fixed on the moon, fingers wrapped around a sealed envelope. Inside it, everything they needed to know, everything that could have changed history. But he burned it, not out of pride, not out of spite, but because he believed something bigger was at stake. He once wrote, "Humanity needs a myth to chase, even if it's built on fragile math." Apollo 11 succeeded by a margin so thin, it still baffles engineers today. And while the world celebrated, he disappeared deeper into the shadows, changing identities, crossing borders, watching silently as the world was reshaped. By a moment he could have prevented. Satellite networks, GPS, interplanetary missions, all born from that one leap, a leap that almost didn't happen because of one man who chose silence. In 2009, 40 years later, a letter arrived at the Smithsonian, unmarked. Inside, a faded photograph, a man standing beside a young Neil Armstrong, taken years before the Apollo mission. On the back, just 6 words, "The leap was never yours alone." To this day, no one knows his name, no record, no trail. Only a chilling question: how many other leaps in history were never ours alone? In the annals of history, there are moments that define generations, events that shape the course of human civilization. But behind these monumental occurrences often lie untold stories of individuals whose actions or inactions have silently steered the fate of nations. Today we delve into one such tale, a narrative that challenges our understanding of a pivotal moment in human achievement. July 20th, 1969. As the world held its collective breath, watching Neil Armstrong take that iconic first step onto the lunar surface, a solitary figure sat in a dimly lit room thousands of miles away, harboring a secret that could have altered the course of history. This person, whose identity remained shrouded in mystery for decades, possessed information that could have brought the entire Apollo 11 mission to a grinding halt. Yet they chose silence. Who was this enigmatic individual? What compelled them to withhold such crucial information? As we peel back the layers of this extraordinary story, we find ourselves face to face with a complex web of motivations, fears, and an unwavering belief in humanity's potential. Our protagonist, let's call him John Doe, was no ordinary citizen. A brilliant physicist with a background in advanced propulsion systems, John had been working on classified projects for years. His expertise in theoretical physics and practical engineering made him an invaluable asset to the space program, albeit one who operated in the shadows. In the months leading up to the Apollo 11 launch, John had stumbled upon a critical flaw in the lunar module's design. A miscalculation in the heat shield's composition could potentially lead to catastrophic failure during re-entry. The implications were clear: If left uncorrected, the astronauts might never make it back to Earth. As the countdown to launch began, John found himself at a crossroads. Should he come forward with his discovery, potentially delaying the mission by months, if not years? Or should he remain silent, gambling with the lives of the astronauts but preserving the momentum of the space race? The weight of this decision bore down on John like the gravity he had spent his career trying to overcome. He understood the geopolitical implications of the moon landing. In the midst of the Cold War, America's success or failure in this endeavor could tip the balance of global power. Hours turned into days as John grappled with his conscience. He pored over his calculations, desperately seeking an error that would invalidate his concerns. But each review only confirmed his fears. The flaw was real, and the danger was imminent. As the launch date approached, John's anxiety reached a fever pitch. He found himself unable to sleep, haunted by visions of fiery re-entry and the faces of the astronauts' families. Yet, something held him back from sounding the alarm. It wasn't until years later that the true nature of John's hesitation came to light. In a series of encrypted documents discovered after his death, John revealed the extraordinary reason for his silence. He had received a visitor just days before the launch, a visitor who claimed to be from the future. This mysterious emissary, whose appearance and demeanor John described in meticulous detail, brought with them proof of their origin and a stark warning. They explained that the success of the Apollo 11 mission was a linchpin moment in human history. Its completion would inspire generations of scientists, engineers, and dreamers, setting humanity on a path towards unprecedented technological advancement and eventual interstellar travel. The visitor revealed that in timelines where the mission failed or was significantly delayed, Earth fell into a prolonged period of conflict and environmental degradation. The unity and hope inspired by the moon landing were crucial in averting several potential global catastrophes in the decades to follow. Faced with this knowledge, John made the agonizing decision to remain silent. He watched with bated breath as Apollo 11 launched, carrying with it not just the hopes of a nation, but the fate of humanity's future. As Neil Armstrong uttered those famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," John wept silently in his room, bearing the burden of his secret. He had chosen to risk 3 lives to save billions. The Apollo 11 mission, against all odds and unknown to all but one man, succeeded. The astronauts returned safely, the heat shield performing its duty despite the flaw John had identified. Whether by miracle, miscalculation, or the hand of fate, disaster had been averted. In the years that followed, John watched from the sidelines as the world changed. He saw the fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the Internet, and the birth of technologies that seemed to confirm the future his visitor had described. With each passing year, the weight of his secret grew lighter, replaced by the conviction that he had made the right choice. But the story doesn't end there. John's final revelation, found in those encrypted documents, adds a twist that challenges our very understanding of causality and free will. The visitor who had come to him bearing news of the future was none other than John himself, or rather, a version of John from an alternate timeline where he had chosen to reveal the flaw. This future John, ravaged by the consequences of his decision, had found a way to traverse time itself, desperate to undo the damage his honesty had wrought. In a paradoxical turn of events, John had become both the harbinger and preventer of a global catastrophe. As we reflect on this extraordinary tale, we're left to ponder the nature of choice, consequence, and the invisible threads that weave the fabric of history. How many other silent heroes walk among us, bearing the weight of decisions that shape our world in ways we may never know? The story of John Doe, the man who saved the world by doing nothing, challenges us to reconsider our understanding of heroism and moral responsibility. It reminds us that sometimes the most profound acts of courage are those that history never records. In the end, we're left with a question that echoes through time. If you held the power to change the course of history, would you have the courage to act, or the wisdom to stand aside? As we gaze up at the moon, now bearing the footprints of human achievement, we might just hear the whisper of John's voice, reminding us that the future is not just something that happens to us. It's something we create, one decision at a time. And so the next time you witness a moment of historic significance, remember the tale of the mysterious man who changed the whole world. For in the shadows of every great achievement there may lie an unsung hero silently shaping our destiny. The question remains, how will your choices today echo through the corridors of tomorrow?